Alrighty, welcome to week 5 in CIT82 and the first day of week 5, Monday. And I'm going to go over the items you have due this week. But for now, you should already have your lecture doc open. And I'm going to go over just a few things before we jump into the content for this week. Um, Two things I think are worth noting. First, and put this in your notes, which is the website valleydevfest.com. So I'm part of the organization that puts together DevFest. We've been doing it for about 5 years now. This year is a really great lineup of folks speaking. Matter of fact, if you go to schedule, you can see that we have actually all over the US and folks from Google as well, and some local rock stars in this area. So you can see the different tracks that we have. Internet of Things, Firebase and Cloud, UI UX, CSS, Android and Firebase. Todd McLeod, who's a wonderful instructor here at City, is also part of this with web programming with Go. He's got one session in the afternoon. Introduction to React, definitely worth coming to any of these for sure. And then there's a whole track that is the makerspace. Okay, so we have this is at Bitwise on October 22nd. And it does cost, but I tell you, for the price, you really can't beat it. 25 bucks gets you in if you buy before. This is early, so it's right now. It goes up as we get closer to the event. So I definitely would say, if you're interested, get your tickets now. Somebody's been asking me if there's student pricing, and I would say this is the student pricing, so if you're interested, do it now. So anyway, awesome thing to check out. It's fun to be a part of this event. Like I said, folks from Google. Actually, Paul is from Fresno State, but went on to do things up in Denver, and now he's back to do some stuff with us, which is awesome. The other thing I would tell you as far as the maker space, there's a new maker space that opened here in Fresno just this last weekend, and it's actually called Hackerspace, and it's called Root Access. It's actually just down from Fresno City. If you want to know about this, it's called Root Access. It's a hackerspace. Basically, it's the marriage of hardware and software, hacking things, playing around with things. It's just a really cool space, and it's very close to campus. So if you're around and you want to go check out some cool places, check that out. They're open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Just fun stuff. I was at the grand opening this weekend, so again, I've said this to you before, so I will say it again. There is a thriving tech community in Fresno, so you want to be a part of that, right? So if you're here and you're looking to connect with the community, there are just great events that I would definitely point you to check out, to be a part of that. Okay, so in your notes, those two things. Okay, so we're in week 5, and it seems like most of you that have hung in here for this far are good to go. I know I still need to work on the what I ask you to do here. I noticed this because I pulled up my VS Code just now. Again, you're still taking a few notes here. Is that I still need to go through and do my GitHub pages, which we will talk about soon. But for this first item, the 3 things that we're going to do first is I call this Visual Studio for web developers, but when you go into here, you'll see, because I went through and did a review of when you all selected editors, and from what I saw, most of you were using VS Code, some of you were using Atom. So in this case, and I really kind of tried to keep with the idea of doing more hands-on, but most of this is just being in the editor, so there's not a good way to track it. So I am going to have you take notes on either. Don't have to do both, but either of these, so choose one or the other. And and if you choose the Atom, then the heading that you will have under this Monday night will be Monday, and then the Atom editor, or for those of you choosing Visual Studio Code, it'll be that. So for Visual Studio Code, this is Joe Martini. He's a great guy. Actually, I've met him. Really great guy. The whole course is an hour and 20 minutes. You need to get through, I believe I actually did a count here all the way through editor. sure, let me just do a real quick view here. You got to get through 1, 2, 3, and part of 4. Okay, but I definitely think it's worth. So I think you have to get up to here, which is navigating the code. But I definitely think it's worth the whole thing. Multiple selection, JSON and schemes. I think it's worth the whole thing. But if I see your notes end at navigating code, that's fine. But you do need to take notes. And on Atom, it was actually one. And by the way, this one is from Ray Villalobos, also a man I've met, spend a little more time with than Joe, but he's a great guy. So this would be one, using Atom interface, using editing features, customizing Atom. And this you didn't have to go very far into. I think this one would probably get you into 1 hour. But again, the rest of this content is good. You don't have to take a ton of notes here, right? Just major concepts so I know you cover this stuff. The most important thing, and this you need to put in your notes, is really to learn to be more productive in the editor. That's really, the more time you spend with the editor, the more you become accustomed to coding using the productivity tools or just coding in general, the better your life's going to be in this discipline. Okay, so for those two, again, just submit your URL with your class topics in it for this lecture. Okay, so make sure that's there. Okay, so getting past that, for week 5, the next item is fairly deceptive, and it will seem easy, and it really will be for most folks, which is really to get on your operating system. Okay, so you can search, and I was searching before I started here today about this. For Windows users, I recommend using git bash. And so if you just search for git install, you can see that, actually you could do that too. And you get to here's the install link, right? And it talks about installing Git, how to do it on a Mac. You walk through the process, how to do it on Windows. And then during the process of installing on a Windows, you'll be asked if you want to use, because there's different ways you can use Git once you install it, and you can set a default. And I'll just have my Windows open to show you here. I'm just going to type Git, because you can use, there's the Git command, there's the Git GUI. I recommend Git bash. Because, and here's the reason why, is that we all then will have a common command line reference as far as commands go. So that's why I recommend using git bash. Once you get it installed, you'll have an option to select your default installation there. But here's what I'd like to show you for those of you using either Atom or VS Code. There is, you can do this. I was just going to pull that up, and for some reason it wasn't. I was just looking for, see, and that's again a productivity thing of getting the commands, right? So I went to view. I know it's out of your view here, but I went to view, but you can see this integrated terminal. This gives you, and this is for Mac, so once you do the install for whichever version, you'll get this, right? So, and because this is the project I have open last, it'll give me that default directory. So if you do pwd, it'll give you the directory you're in, ls for list files, okay? And then you can change directory. If I wanted to change directory into week 3. Now, by the way, this is a really nice thing too. Once you start typing, I can hit tab. It'll complete it to, and what it does is basically looks at the options that you have as far as the directory goes, and then I have to tell it, because in this case there are 2 directories that have a similar name, and then it takes me into that directory. But a better example, and by the way, ... there, you can use that. You can also go back to your, and this basically is for your system, back to your default directory, ls. For me, again, list files. But let me show you here. If I did cd space and then I started typing DOW and I hit tab, that will then look at all the folders in that directory and give me a list of those. And I could also keep going here without hitting enter. I could also, if I knew the directories in there, I could also start typing them here. right? But then sometimes you don't know the directories until you're in to that, right? So again, I'm going to go back there, pwd, right? So I just want you to play around. I think it's a good idea to just get comfortable using the command line. We're only going to use a few commands. The one you need to take a print screen is git v, git, let me make sure I have that right. Is it version? Oh, that's probably because, let me see here. I think that's because of the directory I'm in. Hang on just a second. Yeah, I was actually just using the wrong command. If I had really looked as we were recording a little closer, I would have seen it's actually, and you can do a clear to clear the screen. And this is the one you need to take a print screen of, by the way. And let me just shut this out because I actually had a different directory there. Let me pull up this one. So in this case, it's git -- version. And this is the one, again, I want you to take a print screen of. I believe this is a pretty current version, 9.9.2. Okay, so now once you have this, then in the next series of stuff, we'll then show you how to clone that repo that we've been playing with out on GitHub. Okay. All right, so again, play around. I think, and by the way, there is a course just on lynda.com for Git. So if you want to check that out, I think that's worth, I'm not going to assign it, but I think it is worth your time. Here's one, learn Git and GitHub. I definitely think this hour and 20 minutes of your life, because you're going to use GitHub. And if you're taking Todd's classes after this, you'll use it. If you take my CIT93, you're already using it. So the more comfortable you get with command line, the better. Okay? All right, normal writing length and replies. So 2 replies. So actually, I'll need to modify this. That git, and actually I found today it was 2 dashes and version. Okay, we could check on the Windows side, because by the way, also on the Windows side, I believe it's actually, let's check, right? So I'm going to do this and go to my integrated terminal. Taking a second here. Oh, I still could get the 64-bit version. Uh-oh. I'm on the virtual machine. I'm like, what? I don't recognize that command. There we go. So let's see if git v. Oh, it doesn't either. Okay, so they must have changed this command -- version here as well. Okay, so my looks like my Mac version is, and actually you're going to learn about this. Oh, what a great lead-in. Okay, so this versioning is what we're going to learn next. So on our list of things that we're going to do for this item, this particular beginning of the week, is actually learn about this idea of semantic versioning. So what I've provided here, week 5, wow, we're going quick, you guys, on week 5 here, is semantic versioning. Is I've given you a video. I checked today, I didn't find anything newer or better. I want you to watch it, and then I want you to go find some software package or related and describe its current version and the way that this is discussed as far as major, minor, in those ways that you're learning about how semantic versioning is. When you talk about, most of us say, again, like 2. Like I was saying here, 2.9.2, what does that really mean? Right, and understanding that is really good for your own information about software, and then definitely as you get more into software development, understanding that and how that what that really means when you look at it. Okay, so I think that's enough for this particular one. I'll go ahead and stop and look at the next one. Have a good one.